Hello and welcome to this Yin Yoga online offering today. My name's Karina and I'll be guiding you through this medium length Yin Yoga practice. So it's important that you feel really comfortable to start, and if you don't have the luxury of having yoga props at home, we're going to need at least a couple of things to substitute for that. So I've got a bolster here for our practice today, and if you don't have a bolster, that's okay. You could do really well substituting that with 1 or 2 bed pillows. I've also got a blanket here as well, which is going to be great if you have a tendency to feel cool in your practice, or if you like a layer for Savasana, which is really nice. And I'm also sitting on a block here. So if you don't have a yoga block at home, you might find that the blanket tucked under your body or cushions tucked under your body is a great substitute for that as well. So before we settle in, just make sure you gather in something akin to those prop substitutes, so they'll make your practice a little bit more comfortable today. And then when you're ready, we're just going to start by coming into whatever kind of upright seat works for you. So you could come up and sit up on your block or block substitute, and you could be cross-legged, you could be kneeling, you could be leaning back against a wall, somewhere where the spine can be lifted, but the lower body can be pretty settled as well. So come on up and find your comfortable seat. Your eyes could be opened, your eyes could be closed, whatever suits you. And now that we're starting to settle in, just finding a place for your hands to land in a restful way. And then softly become a little bit more aware of the way that your breath is coming in and out of your body. Lightly connecting into that sensation of breath as it floats in and floats out, as you inhale and exhale. And see if this soft focus on your breath can give you a place to start turning inward. The concept on offer for this practice, or the intention for this practice, is to use this time and to use these yin yoga shapes as a place where you can have a gentle clearing of sorts. If you're joining this practice at the time of filming, there's a really good probability that your world is feeling quite compact. You might even be feeling really encroached as we do everything from home. But if you're joining in this practice beyond the date of filming, there's likely to be things that are going on for you mentally, physically, emotionally, that feel somewhat stuck. And so that concept on offer is to give you a place and a series of yin yoga shapes to help you clear a little bit of space back for you in your mind, in your body, in your heart. And if you want to add a little bit of a personal touch to that, feel free to Slowly begin bringing your hands onto your body. It might be that they come to the belly, they might come to a prayer position. And if it feels particularly resonant, this concept, to see what comes to mind if you are to ponder for a moment about something that's going on for you at the moment that feels really stuck, that you would like to encourage a shift of, or a loosening, and where you need some extra space. And take 3 slow inhales and exhales into whatever you just thought about. If it feels helpful, the exhalations can even roll out of an open mouth. And then we'll take this next breath in together, wherever you are. And let this one roll out through the mouth as you exhale. Welcome and namaste. Just allowing your eyes to open when they're ready to. And then if you are sitting up on something and you don't need it, we're going to now transfer the body into a cross-legged seat. And so if it feels okay for you to bring your sitting bones all the way to the floor, come and do that. And then create for yourself a cross-legged seat. It doesn't matter which leg is in front, whatever you naturally gravitate towards, but with a little bit of a square-ish intention so that the outer blades of your feet can feel like they have grounding and the sitting bones back behind you can have grounding. We're just going to softly let the hands roll onto the knees. Not technically a yin shape, but we're going to start the practice out with a little bit of movement for the spine, which can feel great if you've been feeling congested or if you've been feeling irritated or frustrated. So allow the head to simply float at the top of your skeleton, restful hands, melting quality to the shoulders and the elbows, sinking down through the pelvis. And then take a slow breath in through the nose. Breathing out. And on your next inhale, we're going to move through some cat-cow. So holding onto the knees as you breathe in, just think about threading your face, chest, and front of the body up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, allow the arms to straighten, curl the chin to the chest and rock back, stretching your back out behind you. Follow the inhale forward and up. And follow the exhale all the way back. Let's do about 5 or 6 of these. Find your own rhythm. You don't have to be in sync with me. And have a little feel of what happens at the front of the body when you roll up. And what happens through the back of the body as you stretch back. A couple more of these. Wherever you're up to, just come through one more complete round. And then lightly bring yourself back up into the middle of that. So just coming back into your cross-legged seat. Close your eyes for a moment and just see what that first small amount of movement has offered you, or if it's created any change. Does the breath feel different? Does your spine feel appreciative? Did you get a little bit warmer? In this practice that we're about to head into now, it's very important you at home feel in control and in the driver's seat of your practice. So if we're coming into any shapes and you feel a high level of discomfort, or you feel a sense of needing to come out of the shape before I might offer a cue, it's really important that you honor that. Likewise, you have the beautiful measure of pressing pause with a video. So if you find that you really want to stay in a shape for longer, please feel free to press pause on the video and stay for as long as you need to. And then you can always press play again and join us in the rebound. So the first thing we're going to do here is, still in this cross-legged seat, is just change your right leg over in front. And that same intention here is to have kind of a bit of a square orientation to your legs. So this first shape is going to take us into a forward fold, and this is my usual little triplet of offerings for the glutes. So the intended region here that we're about to explore is predominantly the right side, the right outer hip glute area, and maybe even into the IT band. So if you wiggle your feet forward slightly, it can be helpful to avoid that feeling of ankles and calves getting a bit too compressed under the body. So the first option is simply, in this cross-legged seat, to come forward. Walking the hands forward. And already you might be getting a bit of a sense of whether or not that's coming up for you around the outer hip. You can definitely play with this by seeing what happens if you walk yourself over to the right a little bit more, or if you walk yourself over to the left. And then with whatever props you had here, if you like option one, you could let yourself come up and rest with elbows, or rest the head, or you might even find that the head feels comfortable enough to come and rest on that prop, or maybe even just hang. So that's option one. Options 2 and 3, we're going to take the left leg behind us. So lean a little bit out to your right and bring your left leg behind you. And you can either keep the back knee a little bit bent and come forward like the cross-legged seat. Same thing, kind of coming over toward that front leg, maybe a little further out to the right or the left. We call this deer pose. Same intended target area, the outer right hip. For some people, it just feels like a pinch on the inner hip area, which is probably more of a compressive situation. So if deer pose doesn't really bring any kind of sensation to the outer right hip for you that feels broad and stretching, you might prefer to try sleeping swan, where we just roll the back leg out a little more straight, doesn't matter where it's pointing, and just see if you want to rearrange the front leg slightly. So we're going to be here for about 4 minutes. Make sure that you spend the first little bit of time navigating and moving around. You don't have to be in a locked position and freeze for 4 minutes. That's not yin. Allow yourself some room for inquiry. And it's important to note here as well that that kind of broad stretching sensation that we're hoping will come up in the outer hip need not be stronger than a 7 out of 10. In fact, somewhere between 4 and 7 out of 10 is a great benchmark for a healthy amount of sensation. It's going to be different from body to body. And when you feel like you've found a place where you want to drop your anchor and be here for some time, have a look at the props around you and see if you want to bring any of them in to rest yourself on, or sink completely down into. Over the course of time, you might want to change the height of your props, and that's great. And with all of that you can feel happening in your body and all that you've just negotiated with your props, just see if you can also bring some focus back to the breath again. Just feeling it coming and going. But particularly when it's going, when you're exhaling. And the next time that you exhale, see if it's possible to allow your face to soften slightly. And the next time that you breathe out, see if it's possible to allow your jaw to soften slightly. There's probably about 6 slow exhalations left here, and it's up to you how many of those you want to stay for. If you're already at the point where you're feeling like, you're ready to come out of this shape, you could come on out now, but make sure you move really slowly, and we're headed toward a rebound. So a place where you feel that your body can be very effortless, especially the places in your body where you felt the most sensation here in your glute yin shape. And if that moment is now, just take a slow breath in. Gently clear the breath away. And begin to move slowly, easing your body out of that. Clearing space on your mat, moving the props. And then come and find a position where you can rest. It's likely to be laying down on the floor, but you'll know what rest feels like for you. Bring yourself to that. We're just going to take a rebound. So the particular focus on allowing that right leg to rest, when it meets the ground and you meet the ground, how does it feel? What kind of sensory conversation is moving through your right leg that's completely different to the left leg at this point? And as we rest down into a handful more exhalations, to see how much possibility there is to let the floor completely take the weight of your body as you exhale. And when you're ready to take your next inhalation, use it to slowly fill up your whole body with breath and let it all pour out of you. From where you are now on the floor, just come on over to your back. If that's not where you've been resting, make sure you've got space for your legs and your arms. From that right side, where we've been focusing, we're now going to shift up a little higher and move into banana to target the right side body. So that's going to mean that legs are going to have to extend out, and then we're going to take the arms up over the head. Now they could simply fall to the floor if that's what works for you. If shoulders don't allow for the hands to come to the floor, you might want to have your blanket or your bolster handy to rest your hands upon if it's sort of compressive in your shoulders. Another option that I like to give is to interlace the fingers together and tuck them under the head. So just check that the front of the neck can still soften as the hands take the weight of the head. And then we're going to start to shuffle the heels over to the left-hand side of your mat. It's helpful to let the right buttocks stay fairly heavy just to get that feeling of heavy legs. But at some point, you may want to explore crossing your feet. So some people like right leg over left. I personally like left leg over right. It feels like it secures my right leg. That just feels good in my body. So you do what works for you. And then we're going to wiggle the upper body over to the left as well. So essentially you're creating a side bend on the floor. And this shape is going to be about 3 minutes. There's a good possibility here that anywhere from your outer right leg all the way up the side of the body toward the armpit is the map where you could begin to feel a broad yin-like stretch. Some people get it in more concentrated patches at the side of the waist or even up along the ribs. As you get comfortable and settle in, just allow yourself to begin observing and witnessing where this shape talks to your body. And as you listen, just stay nice and close to your breath. And if you're still okay where you are, there's 3 slow exhalations to sink down into. Into the whole right side of your body, take a slow, deliberate inhale. And a slow, complete exhale. And when you're ready to, easing out of this shape, releasing your feet, and come to where you would rest well. Once again, it could be that you return to being on your back. Another option could be to roll over onto your side and rest here. Somewhere where the body doesn't have to do any work. And there's no hurry to get there. But at some point, come and roll over onto your right hand side, and we'll make a really slow motion transition from being on your side to coming over to your front and folding back into child's pose. So if it feels more supportive for you in child's pose to drag something in, like a bolster or your bed cushions, and lay down on top of that, you can. Otherwise, just folding down into the floor. And this is just giving the body one more place to rest. Allowing the front of the body to be held by the floor or whatever props you're resting into. And when the moment feels genuinely right for you to start moving again, we'll transition up to sitting. And we're going to find our cross-legged seat with the left leg in front. And we're coming back to balance out whatever kind of forward fold you want to use on this side, with an intent to target the left glutes and the left IT band. Some people won't feel it in the IT band. Some people really just feel it local to the outer hip, which is completely fine. The uniqueness of your body means that what you feel is unique to you. So with the left leg in front fairly loose, you've got option 1 again, which is to just walk yourself forward. Hip sockets can be in slightly different places, and therefore tissue buildup and tissue personality can be different from hip to hip as well. So you might come forward and it doesn't quite feel as intense or in the same place as it did on the first side, which is why it's always good to move around a little bit. What happens if you wander to the left? What happens if you wander to the right? Where's your sweet spot? If the forward fold cross-legged feels like your shape to get into that area of your body, great. You could simply hang down. You could rest your head on something. You could rest your torso on your cushions. There's also our options 2 and 3, which were keeping the left leg in front, but taking the right leg behind. So you've got your deer pose coming forward. That may or may not do it for you. And you've got your sleeping swan, extending the right leg behind you. Pretty crucial that you make sure your knee is not unhappy. And again, moving around. Paying close attention to what you feel. And this is again going to be about a 4-minute offering. So gather in whatever props your body is asking for. And over time, they might not be necessary, or you might need more than you started with. You could be lifted up, or you could be completely sinking into your props. It's up to you. It's your practice. But by now you've probably got things fairly worked out, so come back to your breath. Where is it? Where do you feel the breath expand your body when you breathe in? And where do you feel the breath soften your body when you breathe out? There's about 6 to 8 breaths left here on offer. Check in with yourself, see how many of those you'd like to stay for. No obligation at all. If you're ready to come out, move slowly. Guide yourself into a rebound and we'll be there with you in a moment. And we're just drifting over that 4-minute mark here. So if you're now ready to come out, slow breath in, clear the breath away, ease yourself out slowly. Bring the body down to the floor, especially that left leg. And let everything rebound here for a moment, just sinking down into the ground. Softening down through the face and through the mouth. Take a slow breath into your whole body. Let all that breath go. And now we're going to balance out banana from the first side. So once again, just making yourself the space on your mat that you need to be able to walk your feet across to your right, arms coming up and over the head. Let them rest them on something, tuck them under the head. There's lots of things you could try there. Hooking feet together if that's what you want to do. And then shuffling the upper body over to your right as well. Things will be subtly and not so subtly different over here, so pay attention. Allow yourself permission to tailor yourself to the moment you're having. So that this yin shape feels like it comes and meets your body as it's needed, not something that you're trying to force your body to do. And then checking out what you can feel growing up along the left-hand side of your body in terms of sensation. Where are you feeling it? Breathe into that. Do you have a low-grade amount of grip or squeeze in your jaw and teeth that creep in even when you feel that you are very relaxed? It's okay if you just notice that you do. Most people do. Allowing some of that to melt out. Traveling through 4 more rounds of breath if you're okay for that. And then take a really lush, slow breath into your whole left-hand side of the body. Breathing out. Coming out of the shape. Take yourself to where you would rest well, be it on your back. There's also the option to now come onto your side. And at some point we will all come onto our side. And the next place we're going to move to is returning to an upright seat. There's a couple of shapes left in the sequence. The first is going to take us into another forward fold. So we've really harmonized the outsides of the body now. We're just going to give a little bit of space to the back and the back tissues with a focus on that. So I have caterpillar in mind for us, which is to come and sit with the legs out in front. By having the legs out in front when we forward fold, we really have the potential for the benefit of the yin sensation to gravitate along the whole back of the body. So back of the legs, the whole back. Some people find that sitting automatically because hamstrings might be quite tight or pelvis might be a little bit pulled under in a combination of hamstrings being tight, find it beneficial to sit up on something like a folded blanket, just to give the pelvis a little bit of help to roll forward. If hamstrings are very tight, one offering for this is to have something under your knees. Now, it may not be that you have this beautifully crafted yoga prop that we call a bolster. A couple of pillows could be great. Just shoving a couple of blankets under your knees could be great. Something that creates a natural amount of slack for the hamstrings. So gathering what you need. You may not know what you need until you come in, which is good. And then let your body be quite heavy in the way that you sit. From where you can feel your pelvis resting on the floor, just slowly breathe up through your bones. And as you breathe out, let the head start to come forward. And we're just migrating down and over the body. There'll be a place where your body naturally stops. And often that's because the soft tissues at the back of your body have reached the amount of give that they have for you initially. So if it feels like all of a sudden it's very tight along your back or very tight along the back of your legs, build something up to meet your body where it's stopped. Once again, you could bring in something to rest your head on. You could use your own hands here. This is going to be about a 5-minute offering. So you may even feel that you need a lot to support you from beneath for a while. And if that changes, you can change the height of your props along the way. Remembering that grading of somewhere between 4 and 7 out of 10 being where the maximum amount of sensation should be sitting. If it's so strong that you've clenched up your teeth and you're holding your breath, build the shape up a little bit more from beneath you. And when the breath eases out again, just use the next handful of exhalations to help yourself ease in to the shape, creating a sense of trust. Trust that you can let go. Trust in the unknown. If you find that having something under your legs at any point begins to greatly reduce the amount of sensation available through the back of the body, you might prefer to have something on top of your legs and lean down into that. So that's something else that you can try. There's about 8 to 10 breaths left here for you in your caterpillar. You can decide how many of those breaths you'd like to explore and when you feel ready to come out and take a rebound. If now is a good time to come out of the shape, take a slow breath into your whole back. Exhaling and taking your time to unroll the spine, move your props, and come and take a rebound. You might find after that forward fold that something under the knees, if you're going to lay on your back, provides a bit of extra support for all the tissue that's going to rebound in your low back area. You may not need that, but if you do, just tuck that under the knees. As you come down to the floor, you can also let the hands rest on the belly as you rebound here and just breathing into your center. And if it would feel good after that, to slowly hug your knees into the body and move around a little bit. Sometimes the lower back really appreciates that after a forward fold. So now we've come to the more quiet, meditative end of the sequence. So if you're still laying on the floor, you could stay there and get yourself comfortable. Alternatively, you could come up and sit for this next part of the breath work. And then on the other side of the breath work, we're going to be heading into Savasana. So have a little feel into what you need. If the floor is really delicious, just start to make some changes that you could be even more comfortable. So that might be where you bring in a layer. You may not want anything under your knees. You may want to add it back in. And if you're coming up to sitting, just gather in whatever you want to have to find a comfortable upright seat. Whether you're laying on the floor or you've come up to sitting, just spend the next handful of breaths feeling into where your body is making contact with another direct surface. Sections of the floor, any props that are under your body, and even where your skin is touching fabric, touching your clothes. Invite a little extra feeling of restfulness as your body meets those other surfaces. And then softly call your attention back towards your breathing. Before we slip into some time resting in Savasana, we're just going to do a very simple 4x4 breath exercise as a nice transition from the sequence into our rest. So wherever you're up to with your breathing, just slowly exhale all of that breath out. And as you're getting ready to inhale, on that inhalation internally to yourself, start to count upward to the number 4, reaching the number 4 as you reach the top of your inhale. And as you exhale, counting back down from 4, reaching 1 as you get to the bottom of your exhale. And then we repeat that, so inhaling for 4, exhaling back down from 4, inhaling for 4, exhaling back down from 4. Inhaling for 4. Exhaling back down from 4. And continue this. Feel free to extend this out if your count of 4 wants to be longer, or shorten it if your count of 4 wants to be shorter. We're just going to rest into this breath practice for a couple of minutes. Wherever you're up to with your counting, just travel through one more complete inhale and exhale. And allow those numbers and counting practices to melt away. And now you're welcome to come down to the floor if you're not there already and get yourself really comfortable for a few minutes of quiet rest. And if you have been on the floor for the breath counting practice, just see if you want to make any changes to your comfort levels. Adding in anything that's going to make you feel warm and supported. Taking up as much space with your arms and legs as they need. And as we now settle into our Savasana, on the way in, just very, very gently contemplate the idea that every time you exhale, it doesn't have to be a forced kind of exhale, but every time you exhale, the body is working with you to gently clear and release out from you what has been stuck, what has been crowded, what has been tense. So if you wish, you could gently call back to mind whatever you laid your intention upon, if it was more personal for you, and hand that over to your breath. Allow the magic of slow, gentle exhalations to work with you and for you, so that you can give yourself some space to simply rest for these last few remaining minutes. Resting back through the waves of each gently clearing exhalation. few deeper inhale. And then let the next inhalations that are following that continue to grow as well. Allow that breath as much time as it needs to continue to expand before your body feels ready to blossom out into movement of some kind. Let it be as natural as it can be. And if your body wants a stretch, you could take arms up overhead and stretch out along the floor. You could roll over onto your side. Do whatever you need to do. Ambling your way toward an upright seat again. Eyes could be opened or closed, hands could return to the body, or you could just sit. How are you feeling? Hopefully on some level this practice today cleared some space for you so that you can get back in touch a little with you. Be gentle with yourself beyond this practice, as often a lot can continue rebounding after yin, especially in the emotional body. Just gently begin to bring your hands into prayer out in the front of your chest as a way of acknowledging your journey and all that you experienced in there. And we'll take one breath in together and clear that breath out. Namaste.